guys, it's Charles again. Thanks for coming back to another educational series on how to invest in real estate. Last week, we wrapped up our conversation on all the different type of strategies we can implement here in the Greater Toronto area. And this week, we're going to talk about how to pick your location. Which city should I be investing in? This is probably one of the number one question I get asked by investors. So I put together a simple checklist that you can use when you are evaluating a city or town that you are interested in. So first question you should be asking is, who are the major employers, right? So in Hamilton, I know, for example, is healthcare, science, and manufacturing. One of the latest news that we got from a couple years ago was L3 Harris coming to Hamilton. They're relocating their head office, and this is a major defense company that does wireless and surveillance type of product. So they were hiring thousands, right? So this type of information you should know. Next question to ask for yourself would be, are there any developments? Right? So if you go to the economic developmental office or call them up or do whatever you have to do, you can usually get a number of permits approved and pending for residential and commercial properties that are in the pipeline. That will give you a live picture of how lively the city is transforming, to see if they have momentum carrying forward into future years. And is there any speculative or new development investments in the area, right? So you look around to see if there are any flips or any new developments. Speculative just means they are doing them purely thinking that the future market is going to be able to absorb it, even though they don't have a concrete solid buyer yet, right? New developments, I'm talking about big ones, right? So in Hamilton, West Harbor, we got the period development going on. This is a national, thousands of billions of dollars put into this. All the major big developers from Toronto are building. So see if there's something like this happening in your area, and if there is, see if you can ride the wave, right? Is there any area going through gentrification, right? So gentrification is a word used by investors. It's used for an area where it might not be the best right now, but maybe 2, 3, 4 properties, every 4 properties down the road, things are changing, things are getting renovated, new businesses are coming in. You can really feel that it's changing in a positive way. Next will be transportation, right? This is huge, right? How many highways do you have leading to the city that you want to invest in? Is there any future airports? And the airports, what's the airport carrying? Human or goods, right? And ports, right? This is cargo ships. So is there any ports around, right? It's great for trades. Is there any train stations? Is there GO train stations, new stations, any LRT stations coming up, right? These are things. This is kind of like a gold mine for investors. So the more you can understand where the transportations are heading to, the better the odds that you're going to be a successful investor. Is the population increasing or decreasing? If you follow my weekly email, we talked that Canada for the next 3 years is going to have over 400,000 of new immigrants coming in. That's their target, right? So, and out of 44% of it will be coming into Ontario. This is huge, right? And so whatever city that you're choosing, is there going to be population increase, right? Make sure you choose a city that has. What are the tenant profile, right? What does the tenant do for a living? What is the vacancy rate, right? How long does it take to fill a property? And these are the questions that you should be able to ask a local reputable property management in the city. I personally don't want to be investing in any city that I cannot find a nice property manager that I can trust. So make sure there's reputable property manager in the city, and from them you should be able to understand what are the tenant profile, and how long does it take to find them. Is there any major schools nearby? And schools can be private schools. It's huge. I know a personal friend of mine who were not able to get into the Oakville private school, so they went to the next best one, which was in Hamilton, right? Is there any major university or colleges? How many of them are there? Is there any satellite office, satellite campus, right? This is huge, especially if you want to do like student rentals. What is the average rent, right? This is another thing you can ask your property manager or local realtor who specialize in the investment properties, or local landlords, investors who are actually investing there. Is the city pro-development and densification, right? So each city has its own economic development office as well as planning and building department, right? If you talk to them, you'll get a sense that if they are pro-development or not, right? This is huge for an investor to succeed, especially you're doing work that needs permits, right? Is there any city subsidized housing around, right? So if you drive around and get to the specific street, look around to see if there's any subsidized housing. So how these subsidized housing work is that they have very low income tenants and they only have to pay 30% of whatever income they claim. So they're paying very marginal, and as an investor, you don't want them around the property that you're targeting, right? And what is the days on market? So days on market meaning how many days does it take for a property to sell in the city that you're interested in? Is it a fast moving market where day on market is like 1 day or almost 0 day? Or does it take 30 days, 60 days to sell, right? This is crucial market focused information, and your realtor should be able to tell you this. Some of the takeaways for me is that ideally pick a city or town that is closest to you, right? don't go opposite way from where you live just because you find a better deal, right? Pick a city or town that's closest to you, and trust me, it's gonna make a whole big difference when you're when something happens, emergency happens, and if your handyman's not available, you're able to do a drive-by relatively quickly. Or if it's close enough, like you should be able to drive by once a week, no problem. Just go take a look. Make sure not to pick a city that's too small, or else you won't be benefiting from the spillover effect, right? So the fundamental to the real estate price going up is really related to the core of Toronto, right? So the further away from Toronto, the less appreciation you're gonna get, right? And oftentimes these smaller cities will get hit the hardest when something catastrophic happens in the economy. Do a drive-by, look at the street, look at the neighbors' cars, look at the type of people who are walking around, right? Is it family with kids, or is there young professionals walking dogs, or is there like addicts doing drugs or homeless, right? Look around to see if it's the type of neighborhood you want to be investing in. Even with the city you choose, right, they are good and bad pockets, and depending on the strategy you want to implement, it may or may not work, right? So even in Hamilton, I will say there are areas that you must avoid, and there are areas that it's a good area, but it only works as a single family investment, right? So if you want to do multi-unit, you got to find another pocket. So make sure you understand that, right, after you pick your city. And one of the tools that it helps is every city has something called an interactive zoning map. Just type on Google, it should pop up, and on there you'll be able to find each property's lot. You can do a dimensional check, you can measure the area, the length, the width, and you can check what's the latest zoning or if there's any amendment on it, right? So this is a very useful tool. And last but not least, don't chase after deals. Find deals that work for your lifestyle. This is the key, right? I know investors who are just chasing after deals. They're investing in multiple cities, and they have no choice but to create their power team in multiple cities, and it's really spinning their wheels. So I would say that find a city, stick to it, stick to your strategy. It's not really about the pricing, it's about the fundamentals of the city. You've already done the work once, don't have to do it again. Just stick to it and become a local area expert. Anyways, guys, if you like the content, please go download a free deal analyzer at charlie.com, and if you can subscribe and like, that will be very much appreciated. Thank you, and see you next week.